What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Anything Liverpool live stream with myself, Hassan, Toby, and Ben. Thank you all so much for joining us on this wonderful Monday evening with lots of news to discuss today, including but not limited to Liverpool have said that they are not interested in Adam Wharton. This comes from Jack Ludsby. Now, how reliable you consider that source to be, I leave that up to your own interpretation. Liverpool have also said that they have offered Ibrahim Konate the final take it or leave it contract, looking to make him one of the most high paid people at the club. If he refuses this contract, there will not be another one offered, and Liverpool will move on and start looking at replacements, possibly in the January transfer window, and if not, definitely the summer transfer window, as Konate is left to be free to go to his own devices and do whatever he wants. And then the last and biggest news of today, I suppose the weekend, really. Well, it's not the biggest news for me because, Ireland may have knocked out a certain country over the weekend. I'm not sure if anybody caught wind of that. I am a very happy boy. Not to say that many Liverpool fans are happy with me because I made fun of Dominic Szoboszlai, but is what it is. When you're wearing your country's colours, you're not a Liverpool player. Sorry to tell you. Szoboszlai and Kirkes can now sit in pre-season and, work on their game that way. Sorry, lads. Ireland haven't been at a World Cup in 23 years. I will knock anybody out to get to a World Cup. Sorry. And also, that means back-to-back tournaments. I think, as Ben, you pointed out to me, with us getting automatic qualification for the Euros in 2028. So, nice. But Antoine, the biggest news will be Antoine Semenyo's release clause has been revealed. It is starting at 65 million in this January transfer window and needs to be triggered by an exact date. Now, the exact date of which has yet to be revealed, but it also then goes down again even further in the summer. So we'll talk about that as well, and we'll get opinions on that. We'll take a look at a couple of guys because with Adam Wharton being linked to us, it sort of signals an intent of a certain type of midfielder, but we'll take a look into what type of midfielder we could be looking for. I think some people might have their own opinions on the matter. And similarly with Antoine Semenyo, is he worth the 65 million and is that something Liverpool should be paying? But we'll take a look into that and more. Before we do, and before we introduce everybody, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure that your notifications are on for all future streams of videos so that you never miss out. We will be live again on Wednesday and then live again on Friday for a pre-game stream before we face Nottingham Forest on Saturday, where we will have a post-game stream after the game. So make sure you have your notifications on for that. There'll be a couple of videos coming out this week as well, ironically, about both Antoine Semenyo and Adam Wharton that I will be doing myself. So I can't wait for that. It'll be fun times. You get a brief preview into what we'll be looking at today. So, my panel mates, Toby, welcome to the stream. First time that myself and yourself have been on in quite a while. How are you feeling about all of the news that has sort of come out? Give me sort of your thoughts on, first of all, the international break, how you've sort of felt that our lads have performed. Do you take much notice of the international break because of some of the teams they play? For example, England are playing Albania and fucking third world countries left, right, and center. And then, for example, like France played Luxembourg and then Azerbaijan and other teams like that. Do you take much notice of the international breaks for form wise, or is it something that you put a lot of emphasis on?
Well, Steven, it's great to be on the stream with you. I know we've worked together we worked together
Yeah.
at LSE Transfer Room, but we've never really worked together. So, pleasure to be on the stream. To answer your question, I don't really pay much stock to the international break. I am from the United States, so I'm a fan of the U.S. men's national team. Thank God that my team does not need to qualify for the World Cup because we are the hosting nations. Woohoo! But yeah, I don't really pay too much attention to it. I kind of just keep up to date with the players and who's playing and who's not. But usually during these games, I'm usually at work or I'm just busy at the time, so I don't get the time to watch these games. But it's always a pleasure to see our players play well. I know Dominic Soboslai, though Hungary lost yesterday. And by the way, Steven, that was a great game. I watched that game. That was fantastic. Dominic Soboslai, so damn good. He's just so damn good for us. Kirkes, I thought he had a pretty good game too. I know he doesn't play for us anymore, but Raheem Kelleher, great game, great instincts. I miss having that dude on our team, but it makes sense why he left. Other than that, no, don't really pay too much attention to the international breaks. But it is always great to see our players do well when they're away from the team.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay much attention to it either personally. Get in, get out, and get fit. And stay fit, should I say, is the way that I look at it. Ben, with I seen when I asked the question earlier, did you think? No, we'll touch on that a little bit later when we're all talking about him later. So we'll get back to your opinions on Antoine Semenyo at a later point in this stream. But how are you? How did you enjoy the international break? We're obviously coming to the end of it now. There's a couple of teams still to play tonight and tomorrow night, and then we'll have the draw later on Thursday to see where Ireland are going to punch their ticket into the World Cup by beating everybody in front of them. And look, we're winning the World Cup. That's the way that I'm looking at it. Ireland are winning the World Cup. And if you don't believe in miracles, you need to go back and watch that game against them.
You do really think you're thinking, Steven? The U.S. men's national team's going to win it. Come on now.
That will be the final, Ireland versus the US men's national team, because everybody else has ripped their ACLs. But nonetheless, Ben, how are you feeling over the international break? Have you felt like it's been a good break? Do you feel that Liverpool now have an opportunity to maybe capitalise on some easy fixtures, considering the toughest start that we've had out of anybody so far, given sort of a points per game perspective?
Yeah, I judge international breaks based on who gets injured. So far, touch wood, none of our players have got injured, so it's a successful international break. And some have performed well. So yeah, I do think it's a good international break. I've enjoyed having to watch Liverpool. Both days, peace and quiet. Yeah, like you said, good results, good games to build on now. Lots at home as well.
Yeah, lots of them at home too. So I believe Liverpool are due now to face. I'm going to have a look at it here and just take a look at them before I get on to Hassan. So Liverpool. So far at the moment, our next couple of fixtures are quite interesting. We have Nottingham Forest at home. We have PSV Eindhoven at home. We have West Ham away, Sunderland at home, Leeds away, Inter Milan away, Brighton at home, and then Spurs away, Wolves at home, and then Leeds at home to take us into the new year on January 1st. That's a lot of games, Hassan, that Liverpool could gain a lot of points from. And our schedule, shall we say, gets an awful lot easier. So from that perspective, are you excited to start getting into this this round of games, and how do you feel about the upcoming fixtures?
This season is such an up and down that I really don't know what to expect. I thought with Real Madrid game we have turned the corner, and now it's okay that if we lose to City at their ground, but at their home, but the way we played was really bad. I don't know what happened to us before, because with Real Madrid, I thought the midfield was set, and I thought that we are getting back to our form, but that game was. But I think usually I'm really when we are playing good, an international break comes in, I am terrified because of injuries and all that. But this time around, I was a bit happy that maybe the players go to different settings and get refreshed and uh, be back with more hunger. Like I think with Soboslai and Kirkis, now they have uh, more to look forward this season, that they can achieve something, so they can be take rest in the summers. So I think these things comes into play, but I think no game in Premier League is, I think, easy. With I think Sunderland, it's good that they are at home. Uh, uh, I think it will be interesting to see at the first game when we kick off how are the players and how we gel back together.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we kick on. And to be honest, I think we will. There's a lot of games there that we'll gain a lot of points from. We've had one of the hardest starts out of anybody in the Premier League so far with regards to a points per game perspective. It's just it's one of them where I think people are panicking a little bit. We've had one of the hardest starts in the Premier League so far this season, including a points per game thing, as I mentioned. We've substituted in basically half of a new starting 11, and they all need to gel. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't so far. You look at Milos Kerkez, he hasn't really hit the ground running, but had a really great game against Arsenal. Then if you take a look at Florian Wirtz, really seems more comfortable in the Champions League than he does in the Premier League, so there's going to be an adjustment period there. Hugo Ekitike hit the ground running and then unfortunately was kind of taken out of the squad and then put back in, and he's been in and out when, in my own opinion, Alexander Isak shouldn't have been starting in that squad until at least after Halloween, if not longer, to get his fitness up and playing 30-minute cameos to build up match sharpness, because you could see it in any games Isak was in. He wasn't able to press. He wasn't able to keep up that intensity, whereas Hugo Ekitike hit the ground running immediately, and then it was almost like he was tempered and sort of leashed in, so to speak, and now he's kind of not struggling for chances, but any chances he gets, you know, he's only getting the one or two rather than creating it himself. With the France game, took the ball from the halfway line on the left-hand side and drove all the way into the middle, 1-2 with Mbappe, slots at home. That's the kind of stuff he needs to be doing for us. You need to build the squad around Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, Dominic Szoboszlai, and Ryan Gravenberch. There's your 4 players. Build around them. Your 3 best pressers are Hugo Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, and Dominic Szoboszlai. Start them in every game and work backwards. That's how you figure this out. Very simple. John in the comments mentioning, good evening, lads. Up the Irish. Hope you enjoyed the win, Stephen. John, I'm going to tell you right now, the pub that I was in, fellas were jumping over the bar and jumping on top of the bartenders. It was absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend scoring a winner to send your team through. And I wouldn't mind. We're not even in the World Cup yet. We're only in the playoffs. And we're probably going to get pumped in March. But if you don't love romantic stories about football, that game would just not appeal to you whatsoever. The fact that a guy that, especially the guy who scored the goals, Troy Parrott, basically thrown around the place at Spurs. Jose Mourinho hung him out to dry completely. Went on loan deals to MK Dons and Preston, then went and made a big change in moving to AZ Alkmaar on a permanent move. Absolutely done wonders for him. Then goes and scores 4 or 5 in the last 2 games to basically put Ireland through. Beats Portugal 2-0, and then goes and gets a 96th minute winner to put Liverpool, to put Ireland through to the qualifiers. And look, it came at the expense of Szoboszlai and Kerkez, but the way that I look at that is, anybody that thought Hungary had even a half-decent chance of getting far in that competition, you're dreaming. Ireland are not going to get anywhere in that competition if we get into it. Do not get me wrong. We'll probably maybe get out of a group if we get a lucky draw, but we're not winning shit. Nonetheless, if we do end up going to the World Cup, you can bet your bollocks I'm going to be getting a ticket straight over. Now, I might not be going to the US. Sorry, Toby. The shit that's going on there. If they took a look at my phone in customs, I'm not going anywhere near that. But I'll probably go to the Canadian or Mexican games, one of them two. It's just, yeah. No disrespect to my girls and but the Irish will be much better value at the World Cup. I'm loving this. All the Irish love today, especially the game in Boston, which is basically a Dublin West. That's very true. And there's a lot. It's at Chicago as well. Is there any games in Chicago? I don't think there would be, would there? They wouldn't be putting games at Soldier Field, would they? I don't think
Dear
so.
God,
no,
that's an ugly stadium, and that turf is god awful. I don't think so. And plus, the location is bad.
But are they not putting them in MetLife, or are they changing the turf at MetLife?
MetLife is different because I guess it's in New York, or actually no, it's in New Jersey. MetLife is a different type of stadium than Soldier Field. It's ugly. Don't get me wrong, but I guess but
that's where they turf though, because
that's where they held the Club World Cup.
MetLife takes ACLs for fun, like.
That's where they also held the Club World Cup, so I would expect them to hold at least a couple games there. I don't know. MetLife is a terrible stadium. I hate MetLife Stadium. Sorry if you have any Giants/Jets fans watching the stream, but I absolutely hate that stadium. It's so old and outdated, and I don't know.
Where's the final being held? Is that in SoFi in LA?
That one's
MetLife. I think it's in the MetLife.
The finals being held in MetLife. Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me either, considering that they had the Club World Cup there. as well. So
That's shocking. MetLife takes ACLs for fun. Like it consistently injures guys' knees because of the turf that's there.
It's better than
No,
FedEx
I know, Ben, you're saying there in the chat as well that it's mandatory to change the turf, but it's just that stadium is cursed. So I can guarantee you somebody's getting a big injury in that stadium during the World Cup. Putting money on it now. But we are going to jump into our stream topics today, and the first one of which we are going to have about is Jack Ludsby has said that Liverpool are not interested in Adam Wharton at all. It seems to be wide of the mark, and that there's probably better options out there, in my own opinion, as well. Crystal Palace would probably ask for a king's ransom for Adam Wharton, and I feel he is probably one of the most overrated players in the Premier League currently at the minute. And there's many, many reasons for that, and I will touch on them all. But I want to get all of your guys' thoughts, first of all, on it. And if you do also have any thoughts on this, before you do, though, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure your notifications are on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out. If you think Adam Wharton is a good signing for Liverpool, I want you to get your thoughts into the comments below. I want to have a discussion about this because some people love him, some people hate him, some people are on the fence about him. It all depends on price for me. If Adam Wharton turns around and is like £60 million, maybe £55 million, I could have a discussion about it. If you're looking at Adam Wharton for 100 million quid, no, thank you. I'd rather go sign two midfielders with 70% of the ability each for half the price. Just the way that I'd look at it. Just purely because of how he's protected Palace. But we touch on all of that. Hassan, Adam Wharton, it seems to be that Liverpool are looking for possibly another profile in the midfield. Now, we've had opinions floated back and forth on what type of profile that should be. You've had, obviously, do we need a destroyer like a Fabinho that's just going to get stuck in and start getting tackles? Do you need a guy that's better on the ball? Maybe something similar to McAllister, but just a bigger physical presence, so to speak. Do you need somebody that's kind of like another Ryan Gravenberch and put two of those guys, like those all-round guys there in that pivot that are big physically, able to win their duels at a high rate and then progress the ball by carrying it and passing it? In your opinion, what's the profile that's missing from our midfield at the moment? And anybody in the comments as well, let me know what you think as well, what the profile is that we're missing in the midfield at the moment.
Yeah, personally, as you mentioned, I would prefer and I would like a player like Fabinho, who is a destroyer, whose first instinct is to defend and to cover up the defense. It's not the afterthought for the players we have who are really attack minded, who thinking about the forward attacking. Gravenberg, who was always an eight or playing at advanced positions. Now he's converted. He's one of the best, but his first thought is not always to defend. He's always looking. So for me, I would really, because in my personal opinion, I think those team who wins the championships always have those type of players. I think with Fabinho we were better, and uh, I. Uh, I think when we were going for Caicedo, I thought this was the missing piece, but we didn't get him. Now we are not even in the conversation about players like him. I think for me, Slot doesn't think like me, because I don't think he thinks like in the double pivot we have players who are all round type of players who can. But I think with Gravenberch, to complement him, we need a player who's a proper number six, and who's a destroyer, who can cover up the fullback positions, cover up the central defenders, and who's really good in clearing balls and sweeping. So I think I want a player like that, but I don't know. I don't think we are properly linked with a player like that.
Yeah, well, we've been linked with a couple, but nothing really reliable. And we'll take a look at a couple of the options now once we get through with certain people. Omna's here mentioning I would try Dom deeper personally. I think he can do what Wharton can do in terms of directing play. He can, but then you immediately lose his pressing power up front. So it's a double-edged sword. Do you pull him back and put him in the pivot and allow him to dictate play that way, but then at the cost of his pressing ability up front, which possibly could be solved by Semenyo and his running power? Or do you keep him up in that sort of 10 position and then build back from there? So it'll be interesting to see how we do it. You're always losing something, so to speak. Ben, what sort of a profile do you think that we are missing in the midfield? Is it that Fabinho profile, or do we just need? Is getting somebody like is there anybody in the market at the moment that would have that Fabinho profile who's also good enough technically to play in the Premier League? Because realistically, if you just want somebody that's a shin kicker, there's plenty of them about the place, but the problem is they're not really all technically good enough to also play in the midfield and be a ball feet kind of midfielder.
No, there's not. It's a very rare profile nowadays. That's why players like Caicedo and Lavia got so much money, because they're special profiles. But yeah, we need a all-rounder really. Someone whose first instinct is to win duels. We lack that. Like look at the City game, for example. We didn't win any duels really. We won like what, half, 2 times less than what we won against Madrid. And Madrid have a much more physical midfield than City. Says a lot really about how poor our midfield is defensively and physically. Like Hassan says, it's very attack-minded, attack first, and only thinking about getting forward instead of defending. And it says a lot when our most defensive-minded midfielder is also a box-to-box 8 who came from the Cruyff Academy.
Well, see, the way that it's again, you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't in a way, because Liverpool average more possession than anybody else in the Premier League at the moment. And Liverpool are, ironically, one of the best pressing teams in the world at the moment, despite what it might look like. The numbers back it up that Liverpool are unbelievable in the press and Liverpool are brilliant in possession, and that they are a very slow build-up team that operates on sort of death by 1,000 cuts kind of a thing. And I'll show you what I mean in that in a moment when we go and take a look at the numbers for the midfielders. But realistically, as you said, it's very hard to find a profile like that. You might just have to find somebody that is a bit of an in-between. And there's somebody currently in the squad that I feel could, and the only problem is that he's not fit. Stefan Bajcetic. He is probably, if he was fit right now, he would be our best midfielder alongside Dominic Szoboszlai and Ryan Gravenberch. That midfield trio of Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and Stefan Bajcetic would absolutely ruin teams. Stefan Bajcetic is just an absolute physical beast. I just hope he can get fit and I hope he can get into the squad. Genuinely. Toby, what midfield profile are we missing at the moment? Is it a midfield profile, or is it possibly that our press from the front maybe is lacking a little bit on one side, or is it just that maybe it's the fullbacks, or is there any singular position that is the problem at the moment, which is why Liverpool are leaking so many goals, or is it a collective problem? Singular or collective? Where do you see the issue?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's more of like a tactical issue, because what I've noticed this year is Ryan Gravenberch has been pushed up more, right? When his job is supposed to be like a holding midfielder. So for that, I'd rather my holding midfielder be playing back alongside close to where the defenders are at, rather than just attack.
Yeah.
And I think it's been pretty obvious this year that Slot wants to go more attack minded, right? Now, I'm going to say this might catch a lot of people off guard, but low key, I think we're missing someone like Harvey Elliott on this team. Now hear me out, because I know he was sort of a bench warmer last season, but I feel like whenever he came into the games last season, he provided this spark, provided this energy. Yes, he was a role player, but he understood his role. It seemed like every time he came onto the pitch, something happened. Good stuff would happen. I think back to Fulham when he came, we struggled that entire game, right? And when he came onto that pitch, just the offense came alive. He had like, I believe, one that hit right off the woodwork, a couple actually, and just the offense got going. So I feel like that low key we're missing someone like Harvey Elliott who can provide a spark, who can provide an energy and provide energy coming off the bench, a role player per se. Because it feels like we have a lot of star players on our teams, but no role players to like that understand their role or like just can come in and fill a role, kind of like a Darwin Nunez-esque type of player. Though frustrating, you could plug him in around the 60-minute mark, and he can just provide team energy, provide team passion. I think we're just missing a role player.
Yeah. No, I can see where you're coming from with that, but then the problem then comes with we kind of have a player like that in Federico Chiesa, but he just doesn't get on the pitch. So again, it's you're kind of sort of you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So you can get that player, but if Slot, doesn't want to play him, it kind of makes it a bit of a moot point. And that's the unfortunate side of things. But we're going to take a look into the numbers of it now. And I'm going to share the screen now in a moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a numbers at Liverpool, first of all, and how we look in comparison to the rest of the top 5 leagues and how everything looks there. So as you can see, so along our bottom axes here, we have possession percentage. So Liverpool are right here. We average nearly 60% possession. And then as you go up here, this is your passes per possession. So basically, how up to the top right, the more slow and methodical you are in your build-up. And obviously, that's by our PSG. PSG averaging nearly 71% possession in their league shows how much of a joke that league is. And then you have Bayern Munich, you have Barcelona, Bayer Leverkusen, and you have Olympique Marseille. That's going to be a very fun game in the Champions League. Real Madrid are there, and then you have Inter Milan there, Internazionale there. And then there's Napoli there as well. Como's beside us, Elche and Juventus are all there as well. This is what I mean about Liverpool being very slow and methodic in their build-up. So for a team that's looking to attack, you're looking to smother the opposition with the ball. And that's kind of the point that I think Slot is moving towards of your death by 1,000 cuts. You slowly build up and then you hit with a critical attacker, which is your Mo Salah if he was on form, your Alexander Isak if he was on form, so on. But there possibly may be, as we said, a profile missing in the midfield. So if we take a look at how often teams counterattack and how often teams have their positional attacks as well. There in terms of balance. So you're looking at Aston Villa, Burnley, Sunderland, Leeds, Fulham, and Crystal Palace. This is what I meant about Crystal Palace with regards to them basically parking the bus and just going long. So if we go back and take a look at the possession, and then we take a look at the, where are we looking? Passes per possession. Crystal Palace are down here with like fucking Union Berlin and Heidenheim and Levante and Getafe and Parma and Espanyol. They average basically, they cede the ball 60% of the time. And this is why I mean, I don't think Adam Wharton is good enough because he's protected by a back three. He's sat in a midfield 4 and they park the bus worse than Jose Mourinho used to do. That is basically what Crystal Palace do. So I'm not sure you can trust somebody defensively when they are then tasked with moving all the way up to this quadrant and defending that much space on a counterattack. That's what I'm going to work with Adam Wharton. Because if you're going to pay £100 million for somebody, which I think Adam Wharton would be, purely because Palace are going to demand that, you're then looking at, is he going to get exposed? Similarly, Nick Collins is another guy who plays for Ireland and obviously plays for Brentford. Brentford parked the bus a little bit more than most teams as well. They are, where are they? Brentford are somewhere in this sort of cluster here. They're there. I lie. They even park the bus massively as well. They go. There's Route 1 football. The teams that are down here are basically Route 1 football, and hilarious that West Ham United are there as well. I thought that was Man United. Man United are there somewhere. But that's basically they park the bus. This is why I don't think players like that are sat in systems where they don't really defend space all that often and are just guys that sit deep and do nothing I don't know how good they would be in defending space, and that is where I would find the issue. Now, when it comes to our press, which you will find absolutely hilarious as well. So PDA is passes per defensive action. The lower your passes per defensive action, the better your press is. The higher, the worse. Palace let teams run over them. They just park the bus and let teams run over them. Same as Burnley. The only thing, there's no team in the Premier League that allows the other team to pass around them more than Palace do, because they sit back. Then you obviously have a look at PSG, who have a great press. Liverpool are here with nearly as good of a press, with just under 10 passes per possession. Arsenal are sat in this sort of area as well. You can clearly tell who the best pressing teams are. You're looking at sort of this area here. Now, we're going to take a look at players themselves, fielders, and who we could possibly go with. So we're going to take a look at defensive duels, and we're going to take a look at defensive duels per 90. And to take a look here. So we're going to share this tab. And this is now your under 23 in Europe, in the top 7 leagues. Ryan Gravenberch gets involved in more duels than Adam Wharton and wins way more at a higher rate. The only thing Adam Wharton really has on an awful lot of these guys is the progressive passing. That's the issue. Adam Wharton is a brilliant progressor, but he's just not great defensively, unfortunately. Elliott Anderson is somebody that I would be very interested in. And also Bouaddi as well, who plays for Lille, is somebody I would be very interested in. Now, I'm going to throw this over to everybody because I want us to have a discussion about this, just having a look at these. And if there's any sort of numbers you want me to bring up, I can bring up. So I'm going to stop sharing that for a moment. Is there any midfielder under the age of like 24 that you think we should be targeting, Hassan? Is there anybody specifically that you would go for? Maybe Hugo Stiletto, maybe Hugo Larsson from Eintracht Frankfurt, maybe Angelo Stiller from Stuttgart, or is there somebody from the Spanish league? Maybe your man Bouaddi from Lille is another option. There's a lot of good options, I feel, of who you could get and sort of do it the Liverpool way and the Moneyball way. Do you feel the same, or do you think we should just, pay the premium for the premium guy?
Yeah, we were known for our Moneyball signings, but last window it was all Ekatike. It shows that it's not always the signing which everybody is crying for. Ekatike was not as known as Isak, but he came in and he changed the perspective of everybody. The dream signing for me could be João Neves, but I know we will never get him because he's at PSG. He is kind of the player who is a game changer. But I think with Elliott Anderson, as you mentioned, he also plays for a team who plays a low block and are maybe he's better than Wharton at defensively. That can be argued upon, but I think we need to find somebody, and I think for me also Bessager is the best option because he showed that he's really good defensively and progressively he was really fantastic. But I think at the time he came in, he had to play a lot of games, and that's why his body was not made up for so much intensity. Hopefully he's in our plans, because it's always seems like sometimes that slot hits all the Klopp kids. They are all gone, like Tyler Morton and all these kids, and hopefully he's given chance. And as I was really excited for him, hopefully he can be fit after December, and the next year he can be really crucial for us.
Yeah, hopefully he can get actually a place in the team because he is a phenomenal young midfielder. We are probably going to, well, no, we won't move away from midfielders at the moment because we kind of talked on it at the minute. But Toby, is there a particular guy, and I'll ask Ben you the same question before we move on to the last two topics. Ben, Toby, is there a particular guy that you kind of want us to target? Like, I've said a couple of names there. I can't remember his name. Key Stim or something like that, I think is his name. He plays for AZ Alkmaar at the moment. Arne Slot would have known him through the academy that plays there. He's another option. Smit,
yeah.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Smit.
That's him. So he's another option as well. There's Bouaddi as well from Lille, as I mentioned. Is this the kind of situation where Liverpool maybe need to get creative, because all of your big guys that are in midfield, like your Rices, your Caicedos, your Gravenberch because he's with us, and Szoboszlai because he's with us, all your big dictating midfielders, maybe the only team you could probably maybe try and get somebody off, but it'd be like unwanted goods, is Real Madrid if they don't want to keep either one of Tchouaméni or Camavinga. That's possibly the only sort of big name signing you could really make. But is this a situation where Liverpool maybe need to get creative and go back to the Moneyball settings that they used to run off, or is it swing big for the fences and get that midfielder in?
Yeah, I think this is one of those situations where they need to get creative with. Let's go back a couple of off seasons ago when Mountain Man Martin Zubimendi decided to defer us, right? That was a specific type of midfielder Slot wanted to bring in. He wanted a metronome type of guy who could find pockets of space, and pass the ball and all that good stuff. So if we were going to look for a midfielder, perhaps this is why we're looking at Wharton, because he likes to pass. It's probably going to be something similar to a Zubimendi or to a Gravenberch, where he helps dictate the flow of the offense, right? Dictates passing, kind of the quarterback of the system, right? So if we do, I imagine it'd be something similar to that profile. You did bring up Kees Smit. I was just looking at him too. What catches my eye about him is that he plays defensive midfielder and center back. So there's that versatility there. If you're like me, you love a player that can play just multiple positions, not just one, because he's versatile. And that's a very underrated attribute to have in today's game. So, yeah, I imagine if we do go after a midfielder, it'll be somewhat similar profile as Zubimendi or Gravenberch.
I think so as well. It'll be interesting to see, because it's hard to sort of pinpoint where that profile will lie, and that may fit that profile is Bouaddi from Lille. Now, he's very young, and do you have the time to allow him to bed into the squad is another thing, and gamble on possibly him developing in that level of a way, and there's so many different questions to ask. And is maybe, as we said, Stefan Bajcetic the solution in-house? But Ben, is there a specific player in mind that you would have that Liverpool should target for that midfield we're kind of maybe missing at the moment?
I want Pablo Barrios from Atletico. I've rated him for a while. But Bouaddi from Lille, he's another player that I've also wanted. I think he's got potential to be one of the top midfielders in the world. So, one of them too. But if you're going to go big, spend big money, then it's not on someone like Wharton. You got one good trade. You spend that big money on Elliott Anderson, because for what he has, what he lacks in progressive passing, he makes up for in work rate, defensive ability, and his ability off the ball is good enough to make up for his lack of his not so progressive passing. Whereas Wharton's passing does not make up for his inability to defend space.
Yeah, that's my opinion on him as well. It's Wharton's almost an 8 rather than a 6, and you're just kind of putting a square hole in around a square peg in a round hole, and forcing it in. Like, Wharton is not a 6 whatsoever. As you said, I completely agree with you on that. His progressive ability is great, but it's covered up. His lack of defensive ability is massively covered up by the fact that Palace basically parked the bus. And hilariously, none of the tacticals that rave about Adam Wharton seem to realize this, that he's sat in a low block all game with 3 centre backs behind him and another midfielder beside him. Like, he's not exact. He is unbelievably protected in that Palace side. Now, Elliott Anderson is also a similar situation, but if you take a look at the heat maps And Elliott Anderson is a little bit more forward. And when you look at the defensive side of the ball, Elliott Anderson gets involved in twice as many defensive duels as Adam Wharton does, and they both are a low possession team. So that either tells me that Adam Wharton doesn't defend or avoids defending or for him, whereas Elliott Anderson gets and tries to get in front of the players. And he also wins at Elliott Anderson doubled them and wins more than Adam Wharton. So that's more or less my opinion on that. If I look at the numbers here, Elliott Anderson engages in 7.5 defensive duels per game and wins 65% of them. Adam Wharton, by comparison, gets involved in 4 duels a game and wins 60% of them. That's a massive number. Ryan Gravenberch, by example, gets involved in more defensive duels than Adam Wharton, while averaging 20% more position per game and wins 70% of his defense. Pablo Barrios, as you mentioned, from Atletico Madrid, gets involved in similar. What's that, sorry?
Elliott Anderson's Forest's main ball winner. That's another reason like he's trusted to be one of their main ball winners. Whereas Wharton has Will Hughes hold his hand, basically.
Yeah. Ironically, as well, Bouaddi wins more or gets involved in more duels than Elliott Anderson. Now it's in the French league, so that will regress. And us then gets involved in just a little bit less duels per 90 than Graven, wins about the same amount, 2% more. Adam Wharton just isn't a good defensive midfielder. He's a good 8, a good defensive midfielder. Pedri, for example, is around the same as him, but he's in a team that he has runners around him. Whereas it's the same with Adam Wharton. I think the physicality and defending the space that he would need to do when he moves to Liverpool would absolutely expose him completely. But we're going to move on from Adam Wharton and the midfielder talk, and we're going to talk about one of our own players in Ibrahima Konate. But before we do, maybe if you haven't done so already, make sure to have your notifications on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out. We will be in from Wednesday at 7 p.m. We will be live again then on Friday with a pre-game stream at 7 p.m. and then we will be live again on Saturday for our post-game stream with after their game against Nottingham Forest. Speaking of Elliott Anderson and that, if you're watching on X currently at the moment or Twitter, jump down into the comments below. You will see a link straight over to our YouTube page. Make sure to leave us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe. We very much appreciate all the feedback as well. But we are going to talk about Ibrahima Konate, because according to Sacha Tavoleri, been handed a take it or leave it contract. It is an improved contract and everything that we've offered him so far. It is the last contract that Ibrahima Konate is going to get, and I want everybody to let me know in they feel like we'd give, like, if Konate rejects this, where he would be considered one of the most high-paid players at the club, he's going to be told walk. And is that the right strategy? Let me know in the comments what you think about the situation. Should it have even gotten to this point? I want to know everything. But Toby, I'm going to throw it over to you first on this. Are you surprised to see Liverpool offer him what is rumoured to be one of the highest paid contracts at the club? Now, in saying that, one of the highest paid contracts in the club could very much just be matching Andy Robertson, who's on 190 grand a week. Whereas I think people are possibly equating it to giving him Virgil and Salah money right now, which is 300 to 400 to 500 grand a week, which I don't think he's getting. How much do you think the offer is, bearing in mind it's 75k a week at the moment? What are you comfortable with paying him, and what do you think Liverpool's final offer was?
So, yes, I'm a little surprised by it, but no, I'm not. No, because he played so well last season that he did deserve a contract extension. Yeah, yes, because this season he hasn't lived up to how well he played last season. And if it is one of the highest paid contracts in the club, depending on what that means, I'd say he doesn't deserve it. Why? Because he hasn't played like he deserves it. He's made a lot of what I would call rookie mistakes. I go back to, I think it was that game against Man City. Yes, it was Man City where it was Connor Bradley Jeremy Doku and him and Ibrahim Konate, they were like fighting for the ball, and he just kicks the ball. It seemed like Bradley had Doku boxed out, but Konate kicks the ball right at Bradley, and it rebounded, and Doku was able to create a chance out of that. That's a mistake that shouldn't be happening, in my opinion. And then you just have some other stuff like the game against Crystal Palace where he just looked god awful. He just looked bad in that game. As far as like what he was offered, I can't say. I'm not a statistics guy like you, Steven, or money guy, but I just don't think he deserves it. And considering some of the players that we've been linked to, like Gahey, Schlotterbeck, Bastoni, regardless of what if you think we're gonna get him or not, I think that these being linked with these players, we're looking for a specific type of center back, and we're just preparing for life after Konate.
Yeah, it seems to be very much a ball playing centre backs. You have Schlotterbeck, you have Bastoni, you have Gahey. Those are the kind of players. And to be honest, it would not shock me if you saw Jarell Kwanzaa come back in 2027 too, which would make my day because what a centre back he is. But Ben, how the same question to you? How much we've probably offered him, and how much do you feel he deserves, based on the fact that he's on about 75k a week at the minute?
I think we'll double this. It'll be double at least. I think it'll be just under 200,000 because we don't. You have to remember he's got another contract extension in him at Liverpool or wherever he goes afterwards, so it won't be above 250 most. And I don't think he deserves that either, to be honest. No one there's better centre backs out there. Might cost a lot of money, but will earn less and actually deserve that money. And for example, Jack from Rennes, he's my top target. I'd happily let Konate go of him, and he came in.
Yeah, it's a tough one because when Konate is on his game, he is the best center. He is the second best center back in the world. The problem is that he either gives you a 10 out of 10 performance or a 4 out of 10 performance. There is no in between. That seems to be the issue. Hassan, is it more so that we possibly could be looking for somebody that is a little bit more consistent? Like you can either have a 10 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10 out of Konate. You will not have an in. Whereas with somebody like a Mark Gahey or a Nico Schlotterbeck or a Bastoni, just consistently get a 7.5 and 8 out of 10 game out of them, and that's where it would fluctuate between a 6 and an 8 out of 10 rather than a 10 and a 4 out of 10. Is that probably something that would benefit us more in the long run, or do you feel that Konate's slump in form is down to the team, or is it down to individual performance at the moment?
I think, in my view, it's down to his contract situation as well. I think it plays a massive part. Like last season, Trent was also so on and off. He produced some really good performances, but most of the times he was really down. I think these sort of situations should not arise, that whenever Real is linked to a player, it's always down to the last wire. I think it should be the offer should be like this, and take it or leave it. I don't think we should drag it like Trent till the last moment. It should be decided in January. If he's staying, it's okay. If he's going, we should swiftly move on to the other target and get him. We have been really, I think, unlucky with Leone, because he made me really excited for on his first game. He looked up. I think Virgil's region, and but it was hopes going so up, and suddenly with this injury it came crashing down. uh, we will need something, a DM or a center back in January, because with Gomez we cannot rely upon him, and Konate's form going up and down. So we will need somebody in January transfer. There must be, but I don't know what happened, because we were really smart in the signing, but uh, since last year we go. I won't be surprised that we will be asking for defensive reinforcement, and Semenyo is coming in. So hopefully there's a change and we get someone we are crying for. Because after Fabinho, I think it's every transfer window uh, we are crying for someone like him, but we get an attacker. And with Semenyo as well, how many players from left we are gonna sign who are best playing position is from the left?
Yeah, it's good. Look, it's going to be a very interesting one. Look, we're going to move on to the last topic of the day, which is the biggest one of the day. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure of your make sure you have your notifications on for future streams and videos. If you are currently watching on Twitter or X at the moment, jump down into the comments below and you will see a link to our YouTube page. We appreciate it if you jumped over there, left a comment, left a thought. We very much want to hear everybody's opinions on this, because Antoine Semenyo, his contract with Bournemouth was extended last summer, and it also has now rumored to have included a release clause, which now has been confirmed. It has a release clause in it. Nobody really knew the amount until today. TalkSport and Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook mentioned that there was a release clause in contract, but nobody mentioned any amounts. Now it has broken about the amounts. £65 million in January is available to all teams, but is also then going to need to be triggered by a particular date to allow Bournemouth to get a replacement. And then it also means that it also goes summer, and it actually gets less in the summer than 65 million. Ben, at the start of the stream when I mentioned the price and I asked the question, is he worth that amount? You were shaking your head. Why do you think Antoine Semenyo is not worth the amount that they are asking for in that release clause?
No, I don't think price is just as a player, but for us, he's not worth the price. He's not what we need. He's bought a feet. He's a transition player. We need a player who can beat his man and get across him. Someone like a Barcola or a Nusa from Leipzig. I wouldn't spend 60 plus million on a player we don't need when you could just use some of that money. Pay like 20 million for 20 million for Gay in January, which is someone we actually need. And then put the rest of the money towards, I don't know, Schlotterbeck or Nusa or Barcola in the summer. So then you're actually using the money on what you need instead of what you want because it's an easy signing because you used to work for Bournemouth. I just think it's lazy work from Hughes, to be honest.
I just don't think he's worth that either, to be honest with you. And that's not because it's of the player that he is. Well, it is because of the player that he is. I just don't think he's worth it because he's massively overperforming his expected goals and assists at the moment. He has 10, and I think he has less than 5 expected. The exact same thing happened with Omar Marmoush last season. Everybody was like, oh, this guy is unreal. This guy is just scoring for fun. And I wanted him initially last season as well. And then all of a sudden said, nah, I'm good halfway through the first half of the season, about a quarter of the way through the season. And everyone was like, what do you mean? What's wrong with you? Why do you not want him? I was like, because he's massively overperforming. Omar Marmoush, his expected goals and assists through the first half of the season last year was 16. His actual was 33. That is an unbelievable overperformance. And whatever people say about expected goals and expected assists, you can dread it, you can run from it, but the XG Grim Reaper comes to sow every single time, without fail. Death, taxes, and XG, all things that are constant. And if you don't believe in it and you're like, oh, this only came up recently because influencers are talking about it. No, XG has been used for the last 2 decades by betting companies. You just didn't know it. It just became mainstream in the last, 5 years, 6 years. Betting companies are built on XG. Brentford, Bournemouth, and Liverpool are built on XG, and that is one statistic alone. But it screams Omar Marmoush to me, that he's going to move to a club that it goes against so many low blocks. Yes, he has pace and power and is able to kind of maybe get in behind and run at a guy, but his dribbling numbers aren't that great by comparison to somebody like Cody Gakpo, who everybody thinks is a shit dribbler. I wouldn't mind. It's just that he's an athlete and he just looks like he's doing well at Bournemouth, but Bournemouth play loads of open games as opposed to Liverpool, who would average 60% possession and send teams into low blocks consistently. Toby, with Semenyo as a signing, do you think he's worth that 65 million? Would you rather wait until the summer and risk maybe losing him as a possible signing in the January transfer window? And do you think 65 million is an okay price for him, or how do you view him?
Yeah, so I'm on the same boat as Ben. I like Semenyo. I think he's a good player, great athlete. Enjoy watching him whenever I watch Bournemouth. But I don't think he's worth 65 million. I'd rather pay less for him come summertime. Damned if we do, damned if we don't. I really kind of don't care because we don't have a need at that position at the moment. Yes, Gakpo might be struggling, but if you bring in Semenyo, we're missing more of like a Luis Diaz type of player where he can just dribble right and he can get to the outside rather than cut to the inside, or where like we miss that unpredictability that Luis Diaz brought and the dribbling abilities. And from what you said, Steven, Semenyo doesn't have that. But I want to hone in on more the fact that we have more of a need at center back and just other positions. I don't think adding a left winger will help change that. I mean, we've conceded 17 goals in the Premier League this season. Like, that's terrible compared to last season. I would like to see us focus more on defense, get like a Gahey, a Schlotterbeck, focus more on defense in the January transfer window, even the summer transfer window. But if we do make a move in the January transfer window, I would much, much prefer us address the defense rather than just bring another left winger. Oh, yeah, and not to mention, we do have a guy named Rio Nugamoa that's on the bench. We don't want to prevent a pathway for him not getting on the team.
I don't think any signing will prevent a pathway for him. I think he's years away yet. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near that first team for at least 3 years. And I think people were jumping the gun because the eye test fools so many people. People look at Rio Nugamoa and are like, oh, this kid can dribble with the best of them. This kid can dribble left, right, and center. He has to be in the squad. Okay, Ben Doak can dribble with the best of them, but he can't put the ball in the back of the net or put the ball onto the plate for somebody else for the life of him. So you're kind of like, okay, and he can dribble. Now I'm going to show you something here with regards to Semenyo and the expected and actual. So these would be your top 5 leagues. You can clearly see the Bundesliga are just absolute farm leagues. But if you take a look at Semenyo is averaging a double. So his non-penalty goals and assists are 0.49 per 90. And his non-penalty expected goals and expected assists is 0.29 per 90. The man is nearly doubling his expected output. And some people might say, oh, isn't that well? Isn't that good? No, it's not. Because the law of large numbers is a statistical rule that states that everything will regress to the mean the more instances that occur. If you flip a coin 10 times, you might get heads 8 times. If you flip a coin 1,000 times, you're probably going to get as close to 50-50 as you can. The more times something happens, the closer the average answer occurs, which is in obviously coin flipping states. Heads or tails, you have a 50-50 shot. So if you flip a coin 1,000,000 times, you're going to get very close to 50-50. It's probably never going to happen unless you have some astronomically large number. But the more times an instance happens, the average expected outcome is what occurs more often than not. And if you take a look at Cody Gakpo, for example, Cody Gakpo is currently underperforming because his non-penalty goals and assists is 0.39, whereas the non-penalty expected goals and expected assists is 0.52. Cody Gakpo is one of the best creative forwards in the Premier League currently at the moment. And if you don't believe me, there's the Premier League. There is very few ahead of him. That's Estevao, who's played no minutes by comparison. How big the dot is how many minutes these guys have played. So it just goes to show you who's here. And Semenyo is here. So realistically, if you were to look at this across the top 5 leagues, right, Semenyo would realistically be here around the likes of Nusa and Blas and Morgan Gibbs-White, whereas Cody Gakpo would be here in this particular spot right here. well ahead of everybody else in the Premier League outside. So like it's just hilarious to me how people look at this and not understand how he's massively overperformed. San, we'll finish on you before we finish up the stream. How are you with this signing? And as you're here mentioning, why not Semenyo? For multiple reasons. He plays against very few low blocks. He is the main man at Bournemouth. He wouldn't be with us. He wouldn't be playing as open football as he would at Bournemouth. He'd be playing an awful lot more low blocks. Then when it comes to his goals and assists currently at the moment, he's massively overperforming them. And if you're going to overpay for that, Omar Marmoush had 33 goal contributions in the first half of last season. He then moved to the Premier League and he had 7. 33, and you might look at, if you look at that season as a whole, you're thinking, oh, contributions, that's fantastic. Not if you look at the spread. He had 33 in one half of the season. He was on pace for a 66 season, which is unheard of, and then fell off a cliff the second he moved to a tougher league and a tougher team to play for in Manchester City. So that's more so what I'm talking about. It's not just you take Semenyo's Bournemouth performances and they immediately translate to Liverpool. They do not. Hassan, to finish us off before we end up shutting the stream down for this evening, how do you feel about the Semenyo move? Is this something that Liverpool should entertain? Is £65 million a price you would be comfortable with, or would you rather risk losing him in January and maybe seeing if he's still available in the summer when the price is less?
I would be surprised if he comes in January, because I think he's a type of player which now, as it's mentioned again and again, the opportunity signing, he looks like an opportunity signing, because I think if he's come in, he would be seen as a player who we get, whose price could go up really fast. So it's an opportunity which arises now. So but it's not a, I think, intelligent thing to do. It's somewhat like Chelsea is doing, that if a player is certain age and he has high potential, they go for him, even if he's not fitting in the team. It's a wider strategy of the, but I hope we go away from it, and we focus on the team which we have and the trophies we are going for. And I think, as Toby mentioned, and we all are saying, that we would need a player who's defensive minded. And if Semenyo plays from was playing from the right, I thought I would have think that they are thinking about Salah's successor, but he's not. His best position is from left, so I don't know why we are so heavily linked with him. This match of Germany is going on, where it's again playing on the left. So as Toby also mentioned, Rio. So how many players we will have on the left? So I don't know, but if he comes in, he will be told to us as it's an opportunity signing.
Yeah, I don't think we should move for him at all. And I'm not saying who doesn't like presence. He's not worth that money. He's not what we need at the moment. I don't think he would succeed at Liverpool. I think he would absolutely fall by the wayside. I think he would be better taking that 65 million, putting 20 of it on Mark Gahey, and then putting the other 45 towards somebody that's a 1v1 dribbler. Somebody that I would love, who's a really big progressive carrier and a really good 1v1 dribbler, is Malik Fofana from Olympique Lyon. That's somebody who I think we will go for, and has the ability to play both left and right wing. So that could be your Mohamed Salah replacement, the guy that can beat a man and can run. But we are going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out. We will be back again on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So make sure you jump down into the comments below if you're watching on Twitter or X at the moment. There is a link straight to our YouTube page, and we would very much appreciate any support you can give us, either a like, subscription, or leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. Any ideas that you want us to do, we'd very much appreciate it. For myself, Hassan, Toby, and Ben, thank you all for joining us on this Monday